Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Escapes Konoha to Rebuild His Life, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Well. Naruto's mind, deeply in sleep though it was, reacted to those words like a cold bucket of water, but he kept his eyes shut tight and spoke softly. Hello Itachi, when did you get back? Oh, just now. Naruto could hear the amusement dripping from his voice. You two certainly look cozy. What time is it? Just past 3. Naruto groaned and slowly started to move, which of course immediately woke Temari. The two were back on their feet in seconds and, after a few yawns, fully awake. Naruto stretched and then suddenly noticed something odd. What's with all that see you have, Itachi? The Uchiha was holding numerous boxes of many sizes, all filled with stuff. That's why I'm here. I got tired of carrying all this around. Rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, Temari leaned forward. But what is it all? I managed to get some free stuff from just walking around, then found an underground casino. I kept playing and kept winning, but decided to stop half an hour ago since I had almost more than I could carry. I plan to go back there now that I've dropped this stuff off. Oh, with a wave, Itachi vanished. Well, Temari said bluntly, that was rather embarrassing. Could have been much worse. How do you mean? It could have been Kisame that found us like that. Temari opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again and thought about it. Okay, you have a point there. Actually, Naruto said, it's probably a pretty good thing Itachi dropped by, or we might have been late for the movie. Mare, we have half an hour yet. Naruto looked at her curiously. How come you fell asleep, anyway? You had just woken up. Well, actually, she said hesitantly, you fell asleep a while before me. Then what were you doing all that time? Nothing. Crickets chirped in the background. Really? Yes, really. More crickets, if you say so. With that, Naruto went over to clean up the forgotten lunch dishes, but Temari suddenly spoke really quickly. Okay, I'll admit it. I noticed something while you were asleep that seemed strange, and it's been bugging me ever since. How come you don't have any scars? Naruto stopped and looked at her. Huh. Scars? She held out her arm to illustrate. All shinobi get hit sometimes and so most are covered in scars. Even Itachi has some, but not you. Why? Answering this question required Naruto to dredge up the memory of a conversation he had had with the Kyuubi some time ago. Because I don't heal, I regenerate. I know you heal fast, but there should still be a scar. No, Naruto corrected her, healing and regenerating are two completely different things. Healing is when your body replaces destroyed or damaged tissue with new tissue. Regenerating is when your body replaces damaged tissue with the same tissue. What? It's hard to explain to some who can't do it. Naruto pondered and was suddenly struck by inspiration. Okay, you and Kankuro are siblings, right? Yes, but you're not the exact same. The two of you have the same parents, but there are many differences between the two of you. That's how healing is. The new flesh is similar to the old, but not quite the exact same. Now regenerating on the other hand could be compared to a set of identical twins. Not only do they have the same parents, they are physically identical in every way. So then when you get hurt, your body replaces the material with flesh completely identical to what was damaged. Exactly. Regenerating isn't very common, since it's pretty much a demon thing, but theoretically, I could even regenerate whole limbs with enough time and chakra. Temari was silent for a moment. So you could get a tattoo, and then when you were sick of it. Naruto sweet dropped, yes. Slash dash 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 slash. Their movie was on at 4:15, so they left camp at about 3:30. Before they left, Naruto went over everything the Kyuubi had told him. Flashback. Okay brat, since you seem too serious about this, you'll have to follow a few basic rules. No problem, give them to me straight. You're going to have to not be an idiot. You often don't remember to do things like think before you speak. Fine then, But let's try to avoid the personal insults from now on, shall we? Technically, you're going on a date with a coworker, so the same rules apply. No discussing anything shinobi-like and no bringing weapons. But, what if Temari brings her weapons? She won't. She won't. Good God, she won't bring any weapons. How can you be so sure? You live as long as me, you learn a few things. Now do you want my help or not? Yes. Then shut your mouth and listen. Naruto shut his mouth. Now, as I was saying, I know this might be a stretch for you, but you should try and work on your charm. Charm. Yes, charm. It's not hard, it just requires you to think in a different way than you usually do. Explain. Being charming means smiling, using what little wit you possess, and that sometimes you need to do something, often something frivolous, for someone even though you know they're fully capable of doing it themselves. That sounds dumb, but I know what you mean. Good. You again prove that you are, in fact, smarter than you look. Naruto was tiring of the fox, is that it? No. Most important of all, you have to learn to be less of a weenie. Remember the personal insult thing. Yes, but I don't care. You need to stop being a weenie. No girl is going to respect someone who has a phobia of physical contact. May I remind you that my being so screwed up is mostly your fault. Again, I don't care. And just so we're absolutely clear on this, if you don't keep up your half of this bargain I'm going to KO you, and consequences be damned. Yeah, very scary. To my immense surprise, you've been pretty useful today, so don't worry about your reward. And remember, brat, no weeniness. Go to hell. End flashback. As they were just about to leave, Temari was slightly shocked when, before she even suggested it, Naruto said he was planning on leaving his sword behind. She was again surprised when he suggested they walk instead on run, and doubly so when he asked to hold her hand. By the time they actually reached the theater, she was starting to wonder whether this was really Naruto. They arrived with plenty of time, but wanted good seats, so Naruto gave Temari money to buy snacks while he got tickets. Temari considered her many snack options and turned to the greasy man behind the counter. Large popcorn please, and 2 root beers. The man wiped his greasy hands on his greasy shirt and grabbed the popcorn scoop. What you going to? Jaws. Since it's supposed to be really good. It is, but you might find it a bit strange today. Curious, Temari grabbed her popcorn. How? Well, this strange bluish guy came in this morning and bought tickets to every single showing today. Even weirder than that, the guy always cheers for the shark, rather loudly I might add. A couple people have even left the theater because he disturbed them so much. Going white, Temari bolted to where Naruto was just about to buy tickets. Naruto. Changed my mind, let's go to. She looked quickly to see what else was on right then. Harry Potter meets Godzilla. Naruto blinked. Okay then, no problem. 2 hours of melodrama later. Naruto and Temari walked out of the theater in a kind of daze. Well, Naruto said dryly, I was right about those movie makers being clever. By the time Godzilla showed up, I was ready to rip into those whiny wizards myself. Well, it certainly was an experience. Speaking of which, Naruto suddenly asked curiously, how come you didn't want to go to Jaws? I heard a rumor that someone strange was in the theater and was causing problems. Well, I guess we'll need to see Jaws some other time. You hungry? Yeah, kinda, Temari said a bit self-consciously, having hoped that her rumbling stomach hadn't been loud enough to hear. So what do you feel like eating then? I don't know, why not find a seafood place? We are in water country after all. Sure, though I can't imagine seafood can get better than that fish Itachi made. That's because you've eaten nothing but junk your whole life. Hey, instant ramen is good. Temari rolled her eyes. Instant ramen barely qualifies as food. Fine then, you pick where we eat and then we'll see if I think it's better. Deciding to humor him, Temari found a convenience store and grabbed a tourism book, passing the man behind the counter a few coins. Going back outside to where Naruto was waiting, she brandished the book like a weapon. You better prepare yourself, because today your concept of food will be blown away. Slash dash 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 slash. Sasuke wandered back and forth in his hotel room nervously, his dinner long since forgotten. He tensed when felt someone at the door, but calmed when Kabuto slid quietly into the room. Any sign? No, Sasuke-sama. There don't appear to be any Cloud Nin in the city. Fine, but this will be the last night we spend in town. How did your intel gathering go? Anything new? Not really, this Mamoru is a tough customer. All his ex-employees are so afraid of him that I couldn't get so much as the name of his wife out of them. This probably goes without saying, but you were discreet in your questioning, I hope. Of course, not a one of them suspects I was anything more than a nosy reporter. Dropping onto his bed, Sasuke stared vacantly at the ceiling. So, we're going to just have to go to the estate ourselves and see what we can find out. Looks that way, Sasuke-sama. What did I tell you about doing that? Doing what, Sasuke-sama? Adding, Sasuke-sama, to the end of your sentences. I thought I told you to stop that. You did, Sasuke-sama. Then why haven't you stopped? It would be too disrespectful, Sasuke-sama. Okay, now you're just doing it to annoy me. I would never, Sasuke-sama. I can't even imagine going out of my way to annoy you, Sasuke-sama. Don't you know that, Sasuke-sama? Sasuke shifted his gaze to Kabuto. See, the thing is, I can't tell if you're being serious or not. Why would I not be being serious, Sasuke-sama? Never mind. Slash dash 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 slash. Naruto looked at the restaurant Temari had chosen with a detached sense of awe. You plan to eat here? Yeah, why not? It's so fancy. It's a sushi restaurant, Naruto. There's nothing fancy about sushi. I've never been to a place like this before. Which is why we're going, now come on. Sitting down, Naruto grabbed his menu and began to read with fervor, while Temari casually glanced through hers. Once their order finally was taken, Naruto almost collapsed. Man, it was really hard to decide. Only because you acted like the fate of the world depended on what you ordered. I had to be sure I made the right decision. You do realize that if you really wanted to, we could come here again tomorrow. Actually, he hadn't realized that. Feeling foolish, Naruto searched for a subject change. I was pondering something earlier. Why do people think movies make good dates, anyway? Because they don't require any interaction. But doesn't that eliminate the purpose of going on a date? Yes, but people like nice passive activities since they eliminate the need for such inconveniencing things as conversation. Are most people really that shallow? Temari shrugged. It's just human nature. Remember the first girl you had a crush on? If you think back to it now, what was the crush based on? Naruto hung his head. Point taken. It was while Naruto was looking at the ground dejectedly that he suddenly felt something tickle his senses. Not wanting to needlessly cause anyone alarm, he lifted his head back up and his gaze scanned the nearby tables in what he hoped was a casual kind of way. 3 tables to his right, there was an old man sitting with middle-aged woman, and Naruto's eyes were drawn to the pair. It seemed to him at first to be nothing more than a woman going out to dinner with her father, as neither looked particularly strange, but there was something about the old man. At that same table, the woman was getting nervous. Father, that boy is staring at us. Don't look. He felt my chakra, just a moment ago. How? It's perfectly masked. I sneezed. When you sneeze, every bodily function stops for a fraction of a second, and during that fraction of a second I lost control and he sensed the chakra that leaked through. Impossible. I didn't feel a thing. Well, that, the old man said while stroking his chin, is because your senses are not yet well enough attuned. He is young, father. There is no way someone of his age could have such perception. Ah, but you assume too much. Let us go, we shall eat somewhere else. But do we really have to go? The old man glanced sideways at Naruto. Yes. Naruto watched as the old man pulled a huge walking stick from under the table and stood up, at which point his daughter helped steady him and they walked out of the building. Then, there was a hand being waved in front of his face. Hello. Earth to Naruto. What? Oh, sorry. Was just a little distracted. Temari med, yes, you were. What was up with those 2 people? I'm not sure, and really, I don't care. So I can get to interrogating you about relationships now. It's not like there's anything to tell. I'm not sure why, but every girl I knew was either stupid, weak, or more likely, both. Temari searched her blurry memory of time she had spent in Konoha. They didn't seem quite that bad, except that Sakura girl, she always pissed me off. The effect on Naruto was immediate. His muscles tightened, his pupils narrowed, and he half snarled, I'm not even going to think about her. Even bastard Sasuke worked and improved himself, but Sakura has never been anything more than pathetic. Even worse, she uses cruelty to mask her own uselessness. She sounds like a.b. Yeah, that's about right, she was one of the main reasons I left the stupid village in the first place. That, however, Temari said with a smirk, is most definitely her loss. Slash dash 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 slash. The old man walked down the street with a sense of urgency, his daughter trailing behind. Growing impatient with his lack of explanation, she grabbed his arm. Geez, Dad. What's going on? We're going to see the Poobah. What? Why? Because, I think that boy might be far more than he seems, and if anyone in this city would know about any powerful shinobi in the area, it would be the Poobah. Setting a brutal pace, he burst into the city's central tower only minutes later, making the lady at the desk jump. Can I help you, sir? The old man, who looked fine, compared to his heavily breathing daughter, smiled in the wizened way that old men do. Please tell the Poobah that Sark and Seraphim are here to see him. I'm sorry, sir, but he doesn't take guests this late. Sark rubbed his head. I'm sorry then, for not being specific. In that case, tell him that a swordmaster of hidden mist is here with his daughter. The desk clerk's face went ashen. Those names again, sir. Sark and Seraphim. I'll tell him right away. Slash dash 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 slash. When Naruto and Temari finally got their food, they had been waiting so long that they both ate like they were starved. Naruto ate with such excessive speed that he didn't even taste his first few bites. When he slowed down a little bit, the first taste hit his tongue. See, this stuff is really awesome. I hate it that you're always right. The faster you get used to it, the easier your life will be. Naruto spared her an amused glare between bites, but only for a second. Temari was quite hungry herself, and so their meal went on in relative silence. When there was no more food to be found, Naruto laid back in his chair. That was tasty. I need to try some more new kinds of food. But later, because I'm going to explode if I eat any more. Like you said, there's always tomorrow. It worries me that you sound so enthusiastic. Naruto reached into his wallet and pulled out a few bills. How much should we tip? Some people say a percentage of the meal price, but I just say give the server whatever you think he or she deserves. Leaving 2,000 yen for a tip, Naruto stood up, ready to go. Sure, it's actually getting pretty late. As they left the building, Naruto suddenly realized Temari was right, the sun had already set. The night made the walk back seem surreal, as the only light came from flickering streetlights and a sliver of the moon. They turned a corner and were suddenly hit by a cold wind, causing Temari to shiver. How come you never seem bothered by the elements? Aren't you just full of questions today? Once I get a chance to examine you, I notice all this neat stuff and then I get curious. She pointed at where their hands were interlocked. My hand is cold, but yours is warm despite the wind and the low air temperature. I don't know exactly how my body does it, but my temperature almost never changes. It has something to do with my chakra system and body composition, both of which are different than, say, yours. What did you do to yourself, anyway? Forced near-lethal amounts of demonic chakra through my system. I knew you were crazy, but that might be a record. It was in this way that they continued back to camp, neither really feeling the need to talk anymore. Once they passed the city limits and entered the forest, the night became almost pitch black. It was times like this that for Naruto, the world truly came alive. He closed his eyes and let his other senses take over, smelling, tasting, hearing and feeling the forest. Even without sight, he felt no fear, as he was fully aware of his surroundings. It was nice, he mused, to use his advanced senses to just enjoy his surroundings. He could hear Temari's heartbeat, the scratching of small animals, and the rustling of leaves as if amplified by hundreds of small hidden microphones. It was not, he mused a moment later, the most emotional or dramatic simile, but it was accurate. They stopped about a half-mile from camp and Temari seemed annoyed about something. Not wanting to cause trouble, Naruto remained quiet until she spoke. We have a dilemma. What kind of dilemma? See, often the success of a date can be determined by whether the guy offers to walk the girl home, to her door. We live in the same place. Exactly. And this is a dilemma. Yes, it is. Looking down at her slightly pouting face in the moonlight, a maelstrom slowly brewed in Naruto's belly. He wanted more than anything to go for it, but his body was frozen. Slash dash 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 slash. Back at camp, Kisum sat surrounded by Jaws memorabilia. What are those two doing out there? They haven't moved for 5 minutes now. Itachi looked up. Do you want to be the one to go check? And maybe walk in on something? I never said anything about going to check, but I am curious. Itachi sorted through the box of stuff he had. One, gambling. Think of it this way, if we don't actually know what they're doing, we can just assume whatever we want. Kisum grinned, and, of course, mocked them ceaselessly about it. Exactly. Walking into camp, Naruto felt a strange unease. Itachi sat examining piles of stuff and Kisum was reading a book about sharks, but Naruto sensed something sinister in the air. Temari seemed oblivious to the atmosphere and wandered curiously over to Itachi. What did you win at gambling? Anything good? The Uchiha shrugged. I now own a mansion on the north end of town, a summer house by the sea, a company that builds shingles, a horse named Tabasco, the patent of an invention that slices bagels, a candy store, and some guy's wife. That's only the stuff worth big bucks, the rest is in boxes that I need to sort through. Temari sat next to him and peered over his shoulder. A man bet his wife. Yeah, actually, it was the same guy who I got the horse from, and he bet his wife before he would bet his horse. You started with almost nothing, so how'd you manage that kind of profit? I just play card games, which I can win at easily. Isn't that cheating? How is having better eyesight and a better memory than everyone else cheating? I guess it's not, but it still doesn't seem right. Naruto flopped onto his sleeping bag. I figure morality is beside the point, since Itachi, you have no use for anything you've won. Maybe so, but I can sell some of them for money, and return the others in exchange for having some powerful people owe me favors. Temari poked Itachi's head. This probably goes without saying, but I assume you are going to return the man's wife. Kisum looked up from his book. I bet there are some groups who would pay handsomely to have her as a hostage, use her to blackmail her husband. Temari crossed her arms. I sometimes can't believe you people. Naruto looked up lazily from where he was lounging. He was joking. Temari. Do you really think we'd go to all the trouble of trying to transport and sell a person when we could just sell off that summer cottage? Okay, I think you're missing the point, but it really doesn't matter. Naruto was not really listening, as his mind had moved on to other more obvious sources of interest. Speaking of junk, it looks like you got quite a haul yourself, Kisum. This is not junk. I used to have the greatest known collection of Jaws memorabilia in the world, but I was forced to leave it all behind in Hidden Mist. You must really like the movie. Kisum adjusted his Jaws hat. It's my favorite. I'm always inspired when I see it to strive for great things, just like the hero in the movie, except that it's so sad when he died at the end. Temari huffed. Thanks for ruining the ending. Itachi pulled a bobblehead of some famous actor out of his box of stuff and threw it over his shoulder into his trash pile. Don't worry, Temari. Kisum has a rather unique view of Jaws, which I should know since he's dragged me to see it at least 7 times. Kisum looked offended. Hey, it's a great inspirational movie, and I think every young boy and girl should be taken to see it. A shark, wanting simply to find something to fill his starved belly, and the merciless humans who hunt him. You'll laugh, cry and be moved by the poor shark's struggle to live. Temari was wide-eyed. Why then? A stuffed monkey flew through the air and landed in the trash pile as Itachi continued to dig through the box. So anyway, enough about us. What have you two been up to all evening? Thinking he sounded a tad smug, Temari was cautious. Not much. Went to a movie and ate some sushi. That's it. Sounds pretty boring. Are you sure you're not leaving anything out? Of course. Why are you acting so suspicious? What do you think I'm not telling you? Well, for example, Itachi said matter-of-factly, you're forgetting to mention your make-out session in the forest, if it was even as tame as that. Quote, quote. And just so we're clear, Itachi continued in that same tone of voice, you two are free to do whatever you want as long as Kisame and I aren't around, since we really don't want to listen. Temari glared, I wasn't aware that we needed your permission. Kisame smirked and brushed away an imaginary tear. They grow up so fast, don't they, Itachi? Despite having been just moments ago in a very good mood, Naruto was getting annoyed. Do you really want me to kick your ass that badly, Kisame? I'd like to see you try, brat. Just as the two swordsmen were gearing themselves up, Temari tossed her sleeping bag over her shoulder and grabbed Naruto's arm. Come on, these nutcrackers aren't going to let up anytime soon, so we'll sleep somewhere else tonight. Not really caring, Naruto just let himself be led into the woods, though he had the mind to grab his sword and pack on the way. They hadn't been gone a minute when Kisame noticed something amiss and raised his voice to call after them, hey guys, you only have one sleeping bag. Temari's voice echoed out from the trees with an edge of amusement to it, that's all we'll need. The ex-Akatsuki shared a look, and Kisame let out a low whistle, well, she's rather feisty, isn't she? Surprisingly, yes, we were, in a word, owned. I'm not sure it was quite that bad. Itachi gave him a flat look. Well, maybe it was that bad, but we can at least claim a moral victory. No, Kisame, we can't. Our bluff was called, and plans of harassment were foiled. All they've done is temporarily delayed our mocking, since they have to come back in the morning. Not only that, they've given us a whole night to improve our strategy. True, Itachi was silent for a moment, and if they want to give us extra time, then it would be a waste not to use it. Naruto examined his position with rapt anticipation. Temari was vulnerable, she knew it, and yet she would be completely unable to stop him. He moved in for the K, barely able to retrain himself. Your precious bishop is mine. Check. Bastard. The sleeping bag had been fully unzipped and laid on the ground like a picnic blanket, in the center of which now sat Naruto's chessboard. Are you ready to concede yet? I have checkmate in 2 moves. I need time to think. That, Naruto said pointedly, was what you said about your last move, and yet after 5 minutes of thinking you moved exactly where I knew you would and brought me 1 move closer to checkmate. So now again you are going to think, and 4 or so minutes from now, you are going to make what we both know is the only move you can, and thus I will be 1 move from checkmate, so you should just give up. Temari ground her teeth, you should just shut up. Naruto almost started whistling the Jeopardy theme, but figured that might be pushing it, so I take it I'm going to be the one who's sleeping on the ground. Well yeah, what kind of man would you be if you made a girl sleep on cold hard dirt? Naruto rolled his eyes, but refrained from making further snide comments. Time passed slowly, and Temari slowly had to accept that Naruto had been right. There was only 1 move she could make, I'm going to get you next time. Naruto laughed, sure you are. Slash dash 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 slash. Late that night, when the night was quiet but for the sound of Temari's breathing, Naruto slowly sat up and crept over to where his sword was laying against a tree. Being as silent as possible, he lifted the weapon and slowly snuck away. He continued moving for quite some time, more concerned about the chakra he would give off than the noise he would make, so he made sure to be at least 4 miles from any other people. Sitting on the ground, he laid Serei Kirit in front of him and ran his hands over the blade, his mind sinking slowly into itself. You there, stupid fox. About time. I've been waiting for hours. Stop whining, you're getting an amazing opportunity, so you have no right to complain. Conceding the point, Kyuubi controlled his urge to spew insults. Anyway, Naruto said suddenly, what's this jutsu called? What is it with you humans and naming things? This particular technique could never have had a name since you invented it, but you could call it, jiggity jiggity gig, no jutsu, and it wouldn't make the slightest difference in how it worked. Naruto had never really thought about it, but he supposed the fox had a point. There was a momentary surge of chakra, a little smoke, and the jutsu was complete. It was with great trepidation that Kyubi slowly opened his eyes and looked down at his hands, kicker. In place of Naruto's familiar sword stood a young man, one who was now doing backflips just for the sheer joy of being able. Naruto, on the other hand, felt a strange sense of satisfaction. So how does it feel to have a body again? Well, it is a human body, and so completely inferior to the noble body of a fox, but I suppose I'll manage. For all his haughtiness, the demon was betrayed by the fact that he continuously flexed and stretched his muscles with apparent delight. Now I'm hoping you will remember the time limit. Yeah, brat. I'll be back tomorrow mid-morning. And remember, Naruto spoke, you may have a body, but the same rules as always apply. If you break even one, I'll know and you may find yourself quickly being off from the chakra that keeps you transformed. Yes, father. Speaking of which, how real am I? Technically, the body you're inhabiting is a variation on the henge, but reinforced with chakra. You are for all intents and purposes human for the next 12 hours, but I'd avoid rough physical contact. The demon suddenly dashed off, and Naruto followed closely, having guessed what Kyubi had in mind. Arriving at a lake, the fox bent over and examined his reflection. Hey, I look pretty good. The babes are going to be all over me. Naruto smiled to himself. One more thing, you've helped me out today, and so I'm going to allow a little mayhem, but only a little. Kyubi suddenly noticed something strange about his clothing, an insignia on the back of his shirt. Wait a second, you made me look like Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto started to make his way back toward the campsite. Yes, I did. Slash dash 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 slash. Both Naruto and Temari slept in, relatively, late the next morning. Sasere Kirit was back next to Naruto, the sword showing no sign that just hours ago it had been romping around Riversity in the form of Uchiha Sasuke. Though unbeknownst to the Uchiha himself, all the city guard had been given Sasuke's, Kyubi's, picture and were told to bring him to the central tower if ever spotted, to be charged with mischief and public disturbance. It would be a shame that some years down the road when Uchiha Sasuke actually did visit Riversity, Naruto was not in the nearby area to see the chaos that followed, but that is another story entirely. Temari and Naruto of them stumbled back into the main camp only to notice a distinct lack of Itachi and Kisame. There was, however, a pile of a few scrolls and a Polaroid photo, which Temari picked up and examined. It was a picture of Itachi and Kisame wearing cloaks, but they weren't their old Akatsuki ones, although the pattern did look familiar. There was a written caption that said, "Since he won't be needing it anymore," and it clicked. Oi, Naruto, get over here. You won't believe what those two whackjobs did with your sleeping bag. Naruto had one of the previously piled scrolls in his hand and was reading the first few lines. Considering what I've got here, I would believe anything. It appears that your sleeping bag has been made into clothing, though how the two of them managed to pull it off in one night is beyond me. Well, Naruto said, count me as even more amazed because this scroll is, and I quote, the Uchiha and Hoshigaki complete annotated encyclopedia of everything two hormonally charged teenagers might do while alone in the forest with just a large sword and Naruto's pack. Creepy. What's really creepy is that they knew exactly what was in my pack. And I mean exactly, down to every last used gum wrapper. Temari grabbed one of the other scrolls. Apparently one wasn't enough, because here's TUAHCAEOETHCTMDWAITFWJALSANP Volume 2, and I'd bet that's Volume 3 on the ground there. They managed to fill 3 scrolls. They must be a lot more creative than we are, since all we really did was play chess and sleep. So they managed to sew 2 cloaks from a sleeping bag and come up with and write 3 scrolls worth of ideas which I suspect are mostly sick, twisted, or both, all in one night. Naruto took a look at the photo. No one takes stupid jokes more seriously than Kisame and Itachi. They're probably not here because they wanted to get some sleep somewhere we wouldn't find them. Temari crushed the Polaroid in her hand. Well, I'm going to find them, and they'll be damn sorry when I do. She paced back and forth fuming while Naruto read the first scroll with no small amount of amusement. Well, you have to at least give them credit for sheer effort. The boy tilted his head to the side as a kunai whizzed by his ear. Okay, so maybe you don't. Slash dash 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 slash. Temari never did find where Itachi and Kisame were sleeping, but the two ex-Akatsuki strolled into camp that evening with wads of cash, announcing they had sold a little of Itachi's acquired capital and returned the rest. Having spent the day wandering around with Naruto as he bought a new sleeping bag, the sand girl had almost completely cooled down, and had even allowed herself to read a few entries of TUAHCAEOETHCTMDWAITFWJALSANP, which she would never admit, were at least a little bit funny. Slash dash 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 slash. Early Mode morning, Itachi withdrew the business card Mako had given him a few days earlier. So, what are people's views on going to see this Vincent person? Temari leaned against a tree. I think we should go for it. I figure there's no harm in asking for payment when the job is already done. So then, Kisame interjected, what do we do if he refuses? Are we ready to threaten him, and if so, are we willing to go through with any threat we might make? Itachi looked at Naruto, you did the job, so it's your call. He tapped the hilt of his sword rhythmically. I agree that we have very little to lose by trying, assuming we're discreet, and a few subtle threats might be required. On the other hand, I want to avoid violence, so if push comes to shove, we back off. Sound good? Getting a generally affirmative response, Naruto nodded to himself, but then comes the problem of who should go. Kisame grinned, all of us. Are you sane? Itachi said bluntly, suggesting that you, a registered missing nin of this country, could walk into the central tower of this city unchallenged. Yes, I am. On what basis? You'll all just have to find out. Temari poked at the coals of the fire, making sure they were all out. You're not messing with us, right? We're not going to walk up to the central tower only to be surrounded by members of the city guard. Well, subtlety will be required, but once we're in the tower, there won't be a problem. However, this doesn't mean we won't need to prepare a little bit. Itachi joined the Akatsuki almost immediately after leaving his village, and so has never really dealt with clients personally, meaning I have to explain to you people how to prepare for and handle a meeting with the Poobah. Naruto harumphed, and what makes you an authority? Kisame looked annoyed. Alright, everyone take a shot at guessing how old I am. Itachi looked his longtime partner over carefully, curious as he suddenly realized he didn't know the shark man's age, 26. Temari shrugged unknowingly, 23. Naruto continued to tap his sword hilt. I'll go with Itachi on this one, 26. Kisame stared at them blankly for a couple seconds, then started to laugh. I'm glad I look so youthful, but I'm afraid to say I've been walking this earth for a full 30 years. Itachi's mouth would have hung open had he allowed himself such displays of emotion, and Naruto's mouth was hanging open. Temari seemed the only one to be impressed rather than astonished. So, as I'm 11 years older than even Itachi, making my time as a shinobi almost twice his, I've had much more variety in my experiences. One of those experiences is that I have, on many occasions, met with high and done jobs for high officials. Any more arguments? No. Good. With a few quick hand seals, Kisame and Naruto concealed their more bizarre features, and thus the four set off for the city. None were concerned about carrying large weapons, as in this city, they blended in perfectly. To Temari's delight, the place Kisame led him to was a shopping mall. Alright, Kisame said authoritatively, we are not going to visit the Poobah as Nukanen, but as contractors and business people, meaning we need to dress sharply. Does anyone have any ideas or? Suddenly a dark suspicion popped into Kisame's head as he recalled that he had never seen Itachi wear anything other than a black shirt and black pants, whereas Naruto wore only a navy vest and black pants. We might have a problem here. Slash dash 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 slash. Kabuto and Sasuke arrived at their Mark's estate and almost immediately realized why the Akatsuki had been the ones to take this mission. Not only was the estate crawling with guards, there were dogs everywhere. Sasuke observed their motions and immediately guessed the dog's purpose. They're sniffing the guards to make sure no one is an imposter using henge. Kabuto shook his head. Those dogs can't have been easy to train. That kind of expense paid suggests our Mark is expecting assassins. Activating his Sharingan, Sasuke almost fell out of the tree. There must be 20, 30, 40, more than 40 genjutsu traps. We step on the wrong blade of grass and alarms are going to go off while we try to get out of whatever genjutsu it is. He released his Sharingan and rubbed his head. There's so much it's disrupting my vision. So we're rethinking the chop the guard on the neck and take his place approach. Rethinking. We're trashing it. This mission is going to require much more deviousness, which is probably why they gave it to my brother. And of course, now you're going to give it your all just to prove you can do anything Itachi can. Sasuke smirked, damn straight. Slash dash 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 slash. It had been a unanimous decision among those whose votes counted, Kisame and Temari, to go with suits since kimonos made Itachi look too feminine and made Naruto and Kisame just look weird. For the sake of consistency, Temari was told she would have to dress likewise, but she secretly preferred Western suits to kimonos as well. Itachi and Naruto appeared perplexed by the black suits they were given and eventually came out and asked where the shuriken holsters were. This was followed by a long involved description of exactly what a suit was, how to wear it, and why it didn't have shuriken holsters. Temari then dragged Naruto off to get his haircut while Kisame shopped for sunglasses and every female within sight range swamped Itachi. Arriving back 15 minutes later feeling refreshed, Naruto discovered Itachi reaching his breaking point as girls of every age surrounded him to stare and or drool and or grope. Suspecting that any moment now Itachi would grab a kunai and get stabby, Naruto made urgent gestures suggesting that Itachi make a quick escape to the men's washroom located only 50 or so feet away. A couple minutes later, Kisame emerged triumphantly holding a number of small boxes. Yo Naruto. What happened to Itachi? Even as he spoke, Itachi burst from the washroom like a bat out of hell and made it to the protection of where Kisame and Naruto stood in less than 3 seconds. As soon as he appeared, the girls started to gather, but were held back by the rather imposing men with large swords. Figuring Temari might be a while shopping for herself, Kisame and Naruto escorted Itachi back the store to change back into his regular clothes, after which the three of them wandered aimlessly around the mall. Naruto glared, nice of you to hurry, since we weren't waiting or anything. Oh, shut up, I'm in far too good a mood to be annoyed by you. So then can we at least go now? We've been here for over 3 hours. Yes, we can, though I may go back and look more if you keep whining. Suddenly noticing that Naruto, Kisame and Itachi were already walking away, Temari trailed off and rushed to follow. Later that day, as the four made final preparations, Kisame sat with Temari watching as the other two struggled to move in foreign garments. It's not fair, is it? No, she agreed, it's not. I mean, between the two of them they don't have as much fashion sense as a bowl of cottage cheese, but once they actually get dressed up. Temari sighed, Naruto looks amazing, and Itachi could pass as a friggin' model. Makes me want to go become a nudist, everyone is equal that way. This comment immediately caused all movement within 30 feet to cease. Birds stopped chirping, bees stopped buzzing, and the wind stopped blowing. After a moment of realizing everything had gone quiet, Kisame looked around blankly. I was being sarcastic, you know. Unfortunately, the damage had been done as each person tried vainly to rid themselves of the mental image. Temari shook her head violently. Let us never speak of this again. Kisame coughed. Well fine then, I was just making a joke. Itachi was rubbing his temples as if plagued by a headache. Next time, please make your jokes out of earshot. Some people have no sense of humor. Naruto snorted with amused derision. Some people have no sense of decency. Well, some people are just stupid. Hey, I don't need to take that from a guy who looks like he belongs in an aquarium. Ha, this coming from someone most suited for a zoo cage. As the two started into what Temari suspected would be a rather long exchange of insults, she gathered up her own purchases and made her way to one of the many nearby lakes. Never having been one to care much about fashion, she was nonetheless overjoyed at the thought of now having something other than her shinobi uniform. She dressed quickly so as not to make the others wait, but fortunately for Temari, she had underestimated how long Kisame and Naruto could maintain a stupid argument, for not only were they still at it when she finally made it back, they appeared to be nearing the point at which swords would be picked up and landscapes devastated. figuring the two of them should have gotten it out of their systems by now and were probably just angling for an excuse to pick up the aforementioned swords so they could devastate the aforementioned landscapes, she intervened. All right, quit it. Kisum, weren't you just telling us a few hours ago how experienced you are? Shouldn't you then also have an equal amount of maturity to go with your experience? Kisum rolled that thought around in his head for a few seconds. Well, yes, I should, but that doesn't mean I do. PFFT, and you're supposed to be our role model. Kisum turned to deliver a witty retort but stopped when he saw her. Well now, said in wonderment, and all this time I just assumed your hair was stuck in those 4 spiky ponytail things. Temari flushed. Don't be stupid. I just do it that way so my hair never bothers me. Kisum pouted slightly at being rebuked, but suddenly brightened again. Hey. We have to do our thing. Nothing happened for a moment. Then, as if cued by some silent maestro, the three reached into their pockets, pulled out sunglasses, snapped them open with a flick of the wrist and slid them smoothly on, all in perfect synchronization. Temari burst out laughing. Kisum stood thunderstruck, then he and Naruto both cursed and passed some money to Itachi, which the Uchiha collected smugly. It took a couple of minutes for Temari to calm down, during which time she almost tripped from laughing so hard. As she eventually gathered control of herself, she noticed Naruto's irate state. Sorry about that, but you guys look like a bunch of dysfunctional yakuza. It's not personal, Naruto grumbled, we all made a bet on how you would respond. Kisum figured you'd think it was cool, I figured you'd roll your eyes and brush us off, and Itachi said you'd laugh. The two losers had to pay the winner 5,000 yen each. So now that you three are done being silly, can we get onto the important stuff? With a forlorn sigh for his 5,000 yen, Kisum nodded. All right then, a couple things that the more unstable of us have to remember. It's true that we could crush the entire city guard without much effort. That doesn't however mean that we treat the poobah with anything less than the greatest respect. Speak only when spoken to or when I signal you. Most important, no matter what I do, make no threatening gestures of any kind. He turned to Itachi, so no Sharinganing and no weapons, then to Naruto, and since you have built-in weapons, you must do your very best to look meek. No baring of fangs or flexing of claws. Despite mild annoyance, there were sounds of grudging agreement on all sides, and Kisum gathered his thoughts. It's getting later in the day, so we need to leave now and keep a low profile. A reputation is a freelance Nukanen's most valuable asset, and we have the perfect chance here to start a good rep, so no mistakes on this. Sasuke and Kabuto stared at a rough sketch of their mark's estate and the guard movements they had observed. So, Sasuke-sama, any new ideas? Is there any kind of genjutsu we could use on the guards that we could later lift without anyone noticing? Well, yes, but we need the whole household to be under its influence, and we don't know how many are inside. Not only that, but we're not sure how a genjutsu placed over an area that's saturated with genjutsu traps might be altered. Can we even be sure that the mark is in the house? That will require some reconnaissance. So assuming everything goes according to what we have as far as a plan goes, what's our time frame? Kabuto scratched his head. I'd guess about 3 to 4 days. Sasuke started to absent-mindedly nibble his thumbnail. See, we need to move faster. I have an idea for a genjutsu that might work, but it will need to be refined. Can you be reasonably sure of the presence of both the mark and his wife given a whole day to observe? Sure enough, Sasuke-sama. Alright then, keep your sleeping time tonight short and start observing. I'll have my genjutsu ready in 18 hours, but then I'll need to sleep for 8. That will mean that if we give ourselves 4 hours to prep and plan, we can start the operation in exactly 30 hours. Determined to get this over with quickly. Wouldn't a bit more patience be prudent? Sasuke nodded. Maybe, but how long would this mission have taken Kisum and Itachi? Forget sleep, I'll start observations now. Vincent was not what one would call a fat man, but nor was he thin. The best way the poobah had ever come up with to describe his physique was that he fit his chair perfectly. This was extremely fortunate, for he spent most of every day in his chair, seated behind a large oak desk. On the other side of the desk were 8 other chairs arranged in a semicircle, where his numerous visitors sat. He had entertained people of every variety in the course of his term, but as he sat reading through reports describing modifications to the city's sewer system, he was completely unaware of the visitors he was about to receive. He heard a knock at his door. Come. His secretary pushed the door open nervously. Karen says there are people here to see you. Karen was the lady who worked at the desk downstairs, and Vincent knew that whenever she used the intercom to inform his secretary of visitors, she always gave a detailed description. And what did she say about them? There are 4 of them, but she seems mostly concerned with a large man who she says looks like he's going to eat her. They certainly sound colorful. Are they armed? No, sir. Vincent momentarily considered sending him away, but his gut told him not to. And besides, his report was about as mentally stimulating as watching ice melt. Tell Karen to send him up. Setting his papers to one side, he reached into one of his desk drawers and pulled out a clay jar and spoon. Dipping the spoon in, he withdrew a dollop of golden syrup and slid it into his mouth with a warm sigh. Cleaning the spoon as best he could with his mouth, he replaced the clay pot and spoon back into the drawer, feeling much refreshed. He heard a knock on his door. Enter. His door was almost thrown open, and Vincent's eyes tightened at the first figure that pushed confidently into his office. Well, Hoshigaki Kisame, what a pleasant and rather interesting surprise. Naruto was thrown off kilter by the Pudi's apparent lack of shock at having an S-class missing nin walk into his office, but noticed there was a subtle tension in the air. Kisame took a step forward. Nice to see you too, sir. Vincent leaned back in his chair. Somehow I knew you'd show up here someday, but I forget my manners. He turned to address the group as a whole. My name is Vincent Marmite III, Poobah of Riversity and the surrounding area. I am well acquainted with Hoshigaki, but I fear I am unfamiliar with the rest of you. Naruto, Temari and Itachi took turns introducing themselves as politely as possible while the Poobah examined them each with an unreadable expression. When they were done, he rested his elbows on his desk and laced his hands together. The suspicion that this might be a trap has, I'm sure, passed through all your minds by now, so I would like to clarify exactly how I am acquainted with Hoshigaki-san. In actual fact, not one of them had suspected a trap, because Itachi trusted Kisame completely and Naruto trusted Kisame completely. Temari placed her trust in Naruto, who trusted Kisame, thus, she trusted the Shark Man as well. Despite all this, they were all curious, so none corrected the Poobah. It really was, Vincent said reflectively, a minor event that had a huge impact. Back then I was a protester, nothing more than a punk, really, but I had a cause. The previous Poobah was a true incompetent, but was the brother of a crime boss, and so remained in power for 2 full terms. He was about to be elected for a 3rd time, and I started a number of major protests and 1 or 2 riots to try and stop him. Naruto tried to imagine the man in front of him as a upstart idealist punk, and found he couldn't. As the man continued, I had almost given up hope, but one night I found a note pinned to my door. It wasn't signed, but offered to solve my problems if I could provide safe passage to the mainland for 1 person and would agree to keep silent. I posted a reply note agreeing, went to bed, and woke the next day to the news that Hoshigaki Kisame, the Daimyo-K, had broken into the city that night had K the Poobah. The next day I smuggled Kisame-san out of Water Country, and I haven't heard anything of him until today. How many years ago was that? Kisame asked rhetorically. I can't even remember for sure, but I was much younger. As was I, Vincent said with a shade of nostalgia, but I doubt you are here to reminisce. Kisame subtly poked Naruto in the shoulder and the boy took the hint. We are here with regards to the incident concerning the bandit camp recently destroyed. Vincent laughed and waved for Naruto to stop. Of course, of course. Had I known Kisame was in the area, there would have been no doubt in my mind as to how the camp was destroyed. You shall be paid in full. Kisame looked sheepish. Actually, it was Naruto who destroyed the camp, and he did so by himself, so the money goes to him. Raising his eyebrows, Vincent re-examined the boy. You don't say. In that case, the reward is 400,000 yen, the same as I would have paid Hidden Mist. Naruto almost fell over. 400,000 yen. Are you sure? Of course, young man. I pay based on the job, not who does it. You did a B rank mission, so you get the money for such. Well, thank you very much, sir. In a much better mood than he had been in for quite some time, The Poobah grabbed up his clay pot again and ate a spoonful of the tasty contents, causing Naruto to lean forward. Is that honey? Why yes, it is. And now that our business is concluded, I fear I must reintroduce myself, because although I am technically Vincent Marmite blah blah blah, my friends, and I hope I can count Kissam's friends as my friends, call me Vinny. He slurped down another spoonful of honey with a grin. Vinny the Pooh. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.